Hey, what's up, guys? It's your favorite engineering-based ethical YouTubers back at it with another great video on the 2015 cyber attack on Ukraine's power grid. I'm Dennis,
I'm John.
And I'm Joey.
and we're here to tell you a quick story we like to call Raise the Roof, Bring Down the Grid for EG 44175, Ethical, Social, and Professional Issues in Engineering. Don't forget to like this video and leave a comment down below about which ethical engineering issue we should cover next. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to smash that like button and hit subscribe for more great content. Every Thursday we drop a new What Would Jesus Do video. Next week's topic is What would Jesus do about the humanitarian crisis in Yemen? Now let's jump on into the cyber attack.
Hey guys, Joey here to give you a quick little overview on what we'll be covering. On December 23, 2015, three power companies in western Ukraine experienced breaches nearly simultaneously. Hackers gained access to control systems at regional distribution centers and tripped breakers, disabling 30 substations in the area. About 230,000 Ukrainians were affected by the power outages for anywhere between 1 and 6 hours. The system took about 8 months to repair. In the meantime, engineers had to operate the systems manually. After the attack, the Russian-backed hacking group known as Sandworm was suspected to be the culprit. I'll discuss the details of the technique used later, but at a high level, it was a multifaceted attack spearheaded by malicious phishing emails. While the reason for the attack is still unknown, there are many speculations. A leading theory suggests the attack was planned to occur later, but was pushed up to retaliate for power lines sabotaged in the Russian-occupied Eastern Territories. Let's take a look at a bit of live footage from the attack, recorded on a cell phone by engineers in the control room. The engineers' confusion is immediately clear, as they do not know how this is all happening. It becomes increasingly visible how powerless the engineers in the control room were once the attack began. They could only watch as the mouse moved across the screen, tripping the breaker while remaining unresponsive to any of their attempts to retake control. It then went through again and repeated its actions. There was nothing the engineers could do to stop it. The cyber warfare technique used in this attack was based on the Black Energy malware. Black Energy first appeared in 2007 as an effective method of producing a DDoS, or Distributed Denial of Service, effectively shutting down a service by overloading its servers with requests. In 2010, Black Energy 2 was developed, which produced greater effects, and by 2014, Black Energy 3, which was the malware used in the Ukraine attacks, was in circulation. The malware is shared via emails with seemingly harmless Microsoft Word, Excel, or PowerPoint documents attached. When the user opens the phishing emails, a Trojan is activated, allowing Sandworm to gain access via a remote access backdoor in the malware. From there, the Sandworm team can remain dormant and collect sensitive data from the infected computers, thereby allowing them to hijack upper-level clearance to VPNs and gain access to the SCADA system, or Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System, which houses sensitive controls such as the breaker switches in the Ukraine power grid attacks. This suggests the malware had been in place for several months before the attack. While in the SCADA system, the hackers were able to rewrite firmware in the system, preventing the engineers from operating any facilities remotely for weeks after the initial attack. Finally, the malware is equipped with a kill disk to wipe the data from the affected computer in the hopes of erasing everything, including itself, and vanish without a trace. In the attack on the Ukraine power grid, Sandworm utilized Black Energy 3's original ability to implement a DDoS on the phone lines, meaning those affected by the power outages could not call in to report problems to the companies, and the engineers would have more difficulty communicating with each other during their response. On the bright side for Ukraine, the kill disk did not work as intended on all infected computers, allowing investigators to find the remains of the Black Energy 3 program.
Hi, it's John, and we're going to be going over some implications now for the attack. There is very little a company can do to prevent an attack as sophisticated as this one, which was meticulously planned by a patient and skilled team over a span of several months. This is especially frightening for more developed countries that are much more reliant on computer-heavy monitoring of electronic systems, such as the United States and the United Kingdom, where an attack such as this could have a deadly impact. During a speech in November 2015, just 1 month prior to the Ukraine attack, the UK Chancellor, George Osborne, warned that a cyber attack on the UK's electrical network could lead to a loss of life. Furthermore, Ukraine's power grid was actually better suited to handle a cyber attack than many Western countries would be. One feature the companies had that helped greatly reduce the negative impact of the attack was manual breaker backups at the substations. This allowed the companies to drastically shorten the time required to put the substations back online. If a similar attack were to occur in the United States, the time required to get the grid back up and running would be significantly higher because most substations cannot be reactivated manually. They require online connections to distribution centers, meaning the cyber threat would have to be completely nulled before the grid can be brought back online. Additionally, there have been traces of different malware that seem to originate from Sandworm on computers in power companies in America. We'll now review the stakeholders of the case. Many stakeholders were negatively affected as a result of the incident, while few benefited. The nation of Ukraine was clearly negatively affected as they lost power. Additionally, the attacks were political and asserted Russian dominance over Ukraine. Ukraine has had intentions to fully integrate into Europe, and these attacks, along with subsequent Russian attacks on Ukraine, have prevented Ukraine from doing this, utilizing the discovery of natural gas and joining NATO. Russia clearly benefited as a result of these attacks. Not only did they show dominance in cyber warfare and show that they could be successful in this realm, but they were able to further their plans to keep Ukraine partly under their control. They have powerful political leverage against Ukraine, as they, along with many other European nations, are dependent on their natural gas. If Ukraine were to integrate into Europe, they would lose the power of being the largest supplier of Europe's natural gas, as more would come from the Ukraine supply. The cyber attacks and other hybrid warfare tactics have prevented this from occurring, however, promoting Russian policies. The Sandworm team benefited as they were able to develop an automated hacking machine for future use and successfully hack power grids multiple times. The United States and other Western European nations are negatively affected as a result of these attacks, as the possibility of them being attacked is raised significantly after successful attacks were executed against another country. The Sandworm team demonstrated that they are capable and willing to attack a country's power system, and thus, there is realistically nothing that could prevent them from executing a similar attack against any of these countries at any moment. Ukrainian energy companies are clearly negatively affected, as they were hacked, their systems were compromised, they had to labor to turn everything back on, and they had to repair damages. Additionally, they had to develop resources to prevent the attacks from occurring again. American energy companies benefited, but were also negatively affected, so they are neutral. They benefited as they were able to learn of the cyber attacks and take measures to prevent them from occurring. However, they were negatively affected as they are now much more likely to be attacked in something similar, since the attacks were successful and discovered to be fully automated. Insurance companies are also neutral in this situation. Energy companies would be much more likely to buy their policies due to the impending threat of an attack, along with their ability to raise prices due to the possibility of having to make payments in the future. However, that is a negative, since there is much more likely to be an attack in the future, they will be much more likely to have to make a large payout.
So back to your boy, Dennis, coming at you with some issues. The attack exposed major issues over what insurance companies will cover in the event of a cyber attack. Typically, companies are only expected to cover the cost of stolen personal information, so there is no standard for coverage of industrial firms with physical assets at risk in the case of a cyber attack. The cost of cyber insurance is already high. Lloyd's of London currently charges around $100,000 for $10 million in coverage for data breach insurance. This price will only rise with the possibility of physical damage. A University of Cambridge study estimated that an attack crippling as few as 50 generators in the northeastern United States could cost between $21 and $71 billion in insurance claims and could peak at $200 billion in damages. Many American energy companies have warned stakeholders of their exposure to being hacked and the risks along with it, and that they may have to pay the cost as insurance may not cover it all. Additionally, many firms that offer cyber insurance have increased prices or cut back their policies due to the increasing amount of cyber attacks. We believe insurance companies should provide adequate cyber insurance for a fair price, but companies should also be expected to have a certain standard of protection against cyber threats. The attack highlighted many ethical issues. One issue that was raised regarded the ethics of hacking, raising the question whether or not hacking in itself is acceptable. While there are many negatives to hacking, such as those exposed in this case, there can be positive results from hacking. Explicitly, hacking is illegal and against laws. However, for hacking within the government, national security and anti-terrorism measures can be strengthened by hacking, but these raise concerns about invading privacy. Additionally, it raises the issue that whatever is developed could be hijacked and used negatively. The issue of hacking, along with the case, raise questions about the future of cyber attacks and their severity, such as if hacking will ever become commonplace, such that it is only be seen as a petty crime or not even as one at all. Additionally, it raises the question, in the case of a war, would hacking be seen as acceptable, or could it even be something to instigate a war? We believe that hacking is ethically wrong. Hacking creates a recipe for injustice, and in the case of the attack on Ukraine, the hackers were clearly smart and well organized to conduct such a thorough raid of the power company systems. It takes advantage of those and invades their privacy. It also causes a good deal of damage with a good chance of little to no repercussions. The attack illuminated several issues in the professional sector of the power industry. During the onslaught, the engineers were unable to make any sort of cyber defense, and they were slow to manually reboot the system after realizing there was no hope in doing it digitally. They also granted the hackers access in the first place by falling for the phishing scheme. This highlights management's failure to provide a standard protocol and training for the case of a communication block, total cyber lockout, and simultaneous attack, in addition to general preparedness for a cyber emergency and the resulting physical complications. It also exposed the industry's poor security and training on protecting personal information, even in matters as simple and as commonplace as email phishing. Furthermore, the industry failed to make use of common security practices that would have made the hackers' tasks much more difficult, such as two-factor identification. I can't even check my grades without Duo Mobile making sure I'm not trying to break in. Why can anyone just walk up and trip a breaker without having to provide two-factor identification? I believe that management really dropped the ball on this one. They did not properly prepare their employees to handle the threat of this level. There was also poor lines of communication between departments, as seen in the video of the attack when the controllers thought the IT department may have been controlling the computers. However, despite measures to prevent the attack, it is still possible that the attackers succeed, and the engineers must be ready for such a scenario. Some possible countermeasures that can be taken are to install easily accessible manual overrides in every station and substation. They can have each substation manned at all times, or they could install landlines that could only communicate between stations and substations. And management could provide a protocol and training for the case of a complete cyber lockout and shutdown. Finally, there exist social issues surrounding the attack. Prior to the attack, Ukraine was in the midst of a military struggle with Russia in Crimea and with Russian-backed separatists in their eastern territories. These military confrontations between the two nations and their spheres of influence already provide a source of schism in the country's social atmosphere, and the cyber attack further sowed seeds of dispute in an already strife-ridden social arena. Crimea is situated on the Black Sea and connected to both Ukraine and Russia by small strips of land. In 2014, Russia made two aggressive moves. First, the Russian army marched in and seized the peninsula. Second, rebel separatists backed by the Russian military launched coordinated assaults on several eastern Ukrainian cities. Since then, the fighting has continued with several direct engagements between Russian and Ukrainian forces occurring in and near Crimea. We feel this attack was not out of the blue, but the combination of events and circumstances building up to it point to a direct correlation between it, the civil unrest in eastern Ukraine and the ongoing tension between Ukraine and Russia.
What's up, guys? Joey back again to give you our hot take on whodunit. Although the international community has been slow to place the blame specifically on the Russian government, in our opinion, Russia is to blame for this attack. Russia had the means, the motive, and the opportunity to cause destruction, and they took it. The culmination of elements, especially the recent aggression in Crimea, all points to Sandworm and ultimately the Russian government, which must take responsibility for its actions.
And that's Cap. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more awesome content. This video wasn't sponsored by Froxy Jack. I'm Dennis.
I'm John.
And I'm Joey.
And we'll see you next time.